Ladies and gentlemen, I am live. I am live. It is wonderful. I'm with just Dan. He didn't put his last name in there. And I'm not sure how to actually pronounce your last name, Dan. Is it Goyette or is it
is Goyette.
Oh,
Yeah, it depends on where you're at in the world. How you pronounce it. It's Daniel Jameson Goyette.
okay.
Yeah,
That works.
That's interesting. I think. Hey, yeah, it's all right. I thought the whole world spoke like this till I got into the third grade. I had no idea I was different from my classmates, coming from the island of Butte as we did. So I had to learn how to talk like an American. In school, I went to the occupational therapist, which is now why I sound like I'm recording something all the time.
All the time. Yep.
I know, yeah. A lot of people look at me and go, Dan really enunciates.
It's because you've been taught to. That could work really well for the covert stuff where you're trying to do embedded suggestions because you enunciate so well.
Yeah, it does work real well. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to come to their clinical hypnotherapist and have them say, "All right, sit down. We're going to root you around up in there. Get your kit out. You'll be fine. You're going to be all right." I'll just commit. I'll die. Thank you very much.
It's funny because sometimes when I listen to Grant, if he's speaking fast, I don't get what he's saying. Anyway, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Jesse Lewis here. I didn't open the podcast. I'm with Dan Goyette, sixfigurentertainer.com. We are here today to promote the Performing Hypnosis Summit, which is coming up in like 15 days or 16 days from now, January 24th, 25th, 26th. Both Dan and me will be. Dan's going to be talking about websites that actually sell for hypnotists, and I would assume that this information is good for everybody, right, Dan? It's
everyone.
Good for awesome. And are you focusing specifically towards hypnotherapy websites, or you're going for stage hypnosis websites, right?
Right now, really, it's called. Wow, I had a rutabaga moment. I turned into a vegetable right there. Sorry. Websites that get you booked, and really talking about the design of the website, not how to design it, because we could be there for a week talking about, how to design a website, but what really you need to look at when you're designing your website, to just do that. You know what I mean? You want one thing out of it. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're also going to be talking a little bit about, Gig Salad, or the Bash. It used to be called Gig Masters. We're going to be talking about what? No. Yeah, I don't use them, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's just I started out like everyone else. I used them. I did Gig Salad, Gig Masters, and found out real quick that it was a race to the bottom. Who's ever got the lowest price?
I find it funny. I get that from entertainers all the time. And this is what I was going to disagree with you about. Mm-hmm. People tell me that Gig Salad's full of $200 gigs, $500 gigs. When people hear what I charge for my show, a lot of entertainers damn near shit their pants because, and I do get bookings from Gig Salad and Event Tective and the Bash. However, my price doesn't decrease. My price actually increases for those websites. Sounds weird, but it does. And I have a base price for those shows. If I can't get, I'm going to be honest, my pricing starts at $3,600.
Oh, yeah.
And I charge that much. And I'm not going after every lead that comes in. I'm only going through the ones that qualify for what I actually do. So I agree with you that they don't work to book mass bookings unless it's for a low price. But every once in a while, and it's worth it, the 3 or 4 a year that come in for that price, they're worth it. So
yeah, it's a lot different because I haven't used it in years. I will say that. And I think at the time, the base price was starting out with $750 for a show.
Holy sh!
Yeah. Well, that was the first year.
Okay.
You don't know anything in your first year. Eventually, we got up to about the $2,000 mark. And that's when I really saw that, I hit that $2,000 mark, and I really saw those just dive right down. So, obviously I created the website, and that's where I started getting my bookings for that price. And that was at a time where $2,000 was a little bit pricey, but it's not anymore. It really isn't.
Okay. $2,000 is still. We're going to talk about normal people working, Dan. That's still for some people a full month's pay.
Yeah, well, I did bar shows.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not really put my show out there for PTAs, high schools, anything like that. I did a blues show, and it was
Okay.
advertised as that. It was adult themed. No one, we didn't do super adult, but it was adult themed. And I figured, you know what? If you're a venue, you can afford that. Doing well should be able to afford, because it wasn't just me coming with myself and some chairs and a microphone. We brought 15 feet of lighting. We had atmospheric effects, we had pyrotechnics, we had lighting, music with everything. We were Rocknosis USA, the world's loudest stage hypnosis show. So I had a sound engineer, a guy for the lighting, a partner who was called Mistress Sarah. We had a throne that came with us. It was an event. If we showed up at your place, we packed in. So $2,000, $2,500, because I'm paying her, I'm paying the guy, I'm paying the lighting dude, I'm paying myself, and we've got to get a hotel room sometimes. So I didn't think that was out of line.
Nope. And it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Gig Masters thing and why it's more important to have your own website and the real reason behind it.
Yeah, you know what? Everybody says, and I know you disagree, but they used to be, it was like drive everything to your website. Then it was drive everything to your social media. And, now I've always disagreed with that. I understand that social media is important, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snap, whatever they've got out there now. And it's a good way for people to get with you. But for solid out booking, you want to drive people to your website. That's where they're going to see. That's where they're going to have your payment link. That's where they're going to have your booking link. And that's where they're going to be looking at. It's nice to have a good social media following, but I've always said followers aren't bookers. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I liken this. Okay, so if you talk to certain hypnotists, they say, "Oh yeah, you need social media. You need social media. You need social media," and they're pushing out. Let's say they have 100,000 likes on their videos. My question is always, what has that 100,000 likes? How many bookings has it got you? And usually the answer is, well, it doesn't get me any bookings. It just makes me look better to the client. And for me, it's not always about looking better to the client. It's about actually serving them. And that's way more important than pretending. And because that's what it is. It's being pretentious. Sorry if that's mean. It's a vanity metric.
Let's not be pretentious about the whole thing, shall we? I've always used to have a lot of conversation with some of the guys when I was out there doing stage hypnosis. They would say, I would get this question a lot from a lot of venue. Well, how many people do you have on your social media site? And I tell them that's irrelevant. It's like, well, here's the number, but it's irrelevant to you. What do you mean? I said, well, they're 4 hours away, or they're 5 hours away, or they're in another state, or they're, you could have 5,000 people on your Facebook page and what have you, and on your Instagram and your YouTube channel. I said, they're not driving. I was like, how many people drive 10 hours to see the musician you had there?
Yeah.
And, well, not many. I said, no, but here's what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And I liked having people on our page because it worked out well. People looked, that's fine. But it was really irrelevant to the show that I was doing in Detroit. If I'm doing a show in Detroit, then I travel up to the UP. Nobody's driving to Detroit to the UP to see, the stage show. And that's just my take on that. Feel free to disagree.
No, I completely agree. I've got a show coming up that is 14 hours away. Now, out of my 6,000 fans on Facebook, maybe 6 of them are in that town. So yeah, make a post on Facebook, whoop-de-doo, but there's no real benefit to it. They might buy a ticket, they might not. You're better to run an ad if you're doing that as far as social media goes, because you'll actually reach the people that are local if
Yeah.
you know what you're doing anyway. Let's talk about your production company and how it worked to help you actually get more bookings. We know the talk's not going on anymore, but
Right.
I want to talk to you about this. Let's start off with, what is a production company in the sense of what you had? Because I was slightly confused when I went through the workshop about what it actually is, or the description.
Yeah. All right. So when I started doing stage hypnosis, my friends, I was a medical clinical hypnotherapist. That's what I am. Dyed in the wool right there. But my friends were like, "Oh, you should do stage hypnosis." And they were talking me into it, and trying to do it and trying to do it and trying to do it. And then finally, I broke. I did. I Chris Farley'd them. I'm like, "For the sweet love of God, I'll do the show." So, I started thinking, well, what do I know? What do I know? Well, we had like 2 weeks of rapid inductions and stage hypnosis in my initial course from a guy, Frank. I can't think of his last name. He passed away. He was one of the folks there that ran the Michigan Hypnosis Institute, where I took my training from. And he had worked with Orman McGill. He was in his 70s. So we got some of that.
Yep.
So I had about 5 rapid inductions in my entire arsenal. And so.
Sorry about the printer, Dan. My wife
okay.
is downstairs. She is printing.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought you were making a cup of coffee. I'm like, he's making coffee. That is so good right now. No.
I apologize.
So I started calling places, and nobody was interested in Dan Goyette, stage hypnotist. Nobody. I'm like, okay. So I said, I got to rethink this. So what do I do? Well, I'm a firefighter. At the time, I was still active firefighter. I work with the mind, Fire Mind Production. So I just created that name, Fire Mind Productions, at that moment, and called people up, and I said, "Hey, how you doing? This is Daniel Jameson from Fire Mind Productions. I'd like to talk to your manager or your booking manager, or whoever handles your entertainment, to let you know about our great stage hypnotist, and see if we can't get him booked into your fine venue." And then people wanted to talk to me. It sounded professional. We had a Facebook page. We created a website. If you looked at it, it was a little bit of pretending. It was a small white lie. I was a production of one at this moment. But from that, I met Mike Bentley, who I work with now from time to time. And of course, Sarah said, "Oh, I want to, you should do it." And I said, "Listen, you talked me into this, so you're doing it with me. You're going to be Mistress Sarah. We're going." So it became a production of 3. And we started it out, and you're going to laugh. Everybody's going to laugh. I started this stage show with a Protec system that I got at the Best Buy warehouse. It was 2 800-watt speakers, a Pile Pro 5-banger mixer, a wired microphone, and I don't know why they did this, a 4,200-watt amplifier.
Holy shit.
It was a hodgepodge system that, it's just stuff they had there at the warehouse, so they put it together and sold it as a package for like $300 or something, and I bought it. And I started the show with 2 American DJ Starlights, which I paid $73 a piece for from American DJ. That was the show, and we started doing that, and that didn't last very long, and we really built it up. I think by the end, what we did with a production company, our production company was all about the show, and we produced it, we created it, we built it. We had a giant rack that went everywhere with us that served as our DJ desk. It had a table. I had a 3,200-watt amplifier to power the 2 1,500-watt four EV speakers. We had 2 18-inch subwoofers from Electro Voice. We had a 4,000-watt amplifier to power those. We had, at that time, about well over $1,300 in lights. And we had bought for our pyrotechnics, the two not Pile Pro, excuse me, Fog Fury jets from American DJ. They had the lights; they would shoot straight up. Yep. And eventually,
the geysers are the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love those.
We got the bigger ones. They had 28 LEDs, just kicked out. It looked beautiful. What happened was my partner, Mike Bentley, goes, dude, we should do weddings. So he says, okay, let's do weddings. So we bought another DJ system and we hired a DJ. And then we bought another DJ system and we got another DJ in there. And then from that production, people started going, hey, we had somebody contact us and say, well, my daughters sing, which was a friend of mine, which is a conversation that could have gone south so fast if they had been bad. You know what I mean? Like if they saw them, I'm like, oh, you go down. And I'm like, oh, dear God.
Hey, there's a market for it. I've heard some of the people on American Idol. There's a market for it.
So, yeah. But no, they were great. So we picked them up. And then somebody else heard about that, so we picked those guys up. And we put so we were at the time that we were really going before the pandemic, we were booking musicians, we were booking DJs, we were doing the stage show. We had a magician that was working with us, so it became a production company of events. You know, like, hey, can you help us do this? So. Yeah. It really grew and grew and grew, and we had equipment and equipment upon equipment. We had lighting and sound systems and microphones and just everything you could think of. You know, it was really, really big. So that's, yeah.
I'm going to pause you, Dan.
Sure.
If you were going to do this again today, let's just imagine, we're not saying you're going to, but let's just imagine you had to start fresh. Would you buy that equipment or would you go to a Guitar Center and rent it these days because you know that that's available as an option? And then you just do set up and have a fee.
You know what? I wouldn't have to. I still have it all. I still have all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. It is over there in the storage area, and we use a lot of it for, you know, the conference. So
instead of getting AV in, right?
Right. I would not have to start over again. The thing I like about having your own sound system travel with you is you don't have to, you're not at the mercy of something happening. Like you go there and you rent one and it doesn't get delivered, or you rent one and you get there and the guy's like, oh, well, we just sent our last system out, which are some of the horror stories I've heard.
It happens. It does happen.
I've always, and my show didn't travel well, let's be honest with that. We pretty much stayed in our wheelhouse here in Michigan, a little bit into Chicago. I understand that my show doesn't travel that well with all that equipment, lighting, so on and so forth. But no, I would not start over, and I probably would not rent a system just because of those horror systems. And you know what? You're not familiar with the system if you rent it.
My thought process on it is that if a person was absolutely starting out their first 2 or 3 shows, I rented because I didn't know this was going to turn into a 20-year career, right? But as soon as I had that 3rd show, which paid for the entire bloody sound system for the first 200 shows, why not own it? Like, it's just a big stereo. If nothing else, put it in your house and you got the best stereo on the block.
And some of the sound systems now today are really great.
Compact.
You know, like Bose, they have the array systems. You can get them really great. You don't have to
Yorkville. Yorkville's got the array, and it's about 1/3 of the price of the Bose. And I've used both, and they're bloody fantastic. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, yeah. I'm just saying, you know, it's not as, you know, big as it used to be. You had the big 15-inch speakers, the subwoofers, all that. So if I were going to do it again, I might purchase one of those really high-powered array systems, a 1,500 watt, you know, good decibels array system, because that's what you need. Watts are nice, but it's the decibels you're looking at. So, but yeah. But that was
So as we're going to PHS, you're going to be talking about the website specifically. What is one failure that you see on a lot of websites as far as hypnotist goes? Just one that we can dive into so we don't give away your whole bloody talk.
too much. You do too much with one website. It's just too busy. It loses its clear and concise purpose. Your website should have one purpose and one purpose only. And for stage hypnosis, man, that's to get you a gig. That's to get you a show. If you have too much on it, it loses that purpose just because, and I've researched this. And you remember it used to be like people would spend like so many minutes on your website. Now it's like 54 seconds.
It's less than that, but yes, it's crazy how fast people go away.
So that first impression has to be right there. Has to be right there. So don't be too busy.
And a lot of people are coming into the industry new, and they haven't done their first show yet, or they're still under the 15 shows or whatever it is, and their promo is, let's be honest, crap. But here's something I want people to know. I've been doing this 20 years. My promo is still crap. It's not the promo that gets you the booking. It's the serving the client. It really is. And the promo, it leads to better bookings, but with the prices I charge, I know for a fact that most people don't charge what I charge. So it's not the promo that gets you booked. It's the serving. So if a person was going to go to a website, Dan, what's the number one tip other than it can't be too busy? What should it be pushing towards, or what should, in your opinion, be? We know the primary thing is bookings, but how do you make that a workflow, I guess, on the website to push towards that?
Yeah. Your homepage. Your homepage, when they hit it, it should, one, grab their attention, and two, inform them of who you are and what you do immediately. I mean, right as soon as it comes up, it's right there. And I'm not opposed to having a quick video on your homepage, because people want to instantly see what you're about. That instant gratification in this day and age. And it doesn't have to be, and here's the thing, it doesn't have to be your best show ever. You know what I mean? If it's a really great moment in a show, grab it, edit it, put some lighting to it, make it look good and put it on there, because that's the magic of theater. As we say, the magic of theater. It really is. It's a little bit of theater on your website. It looks great. So when people see it, they're instantly seeing you be successful, funny, and professional all at the same time. And that's just my take on that.
So talking about being professional, that leads into what happens after they're on your site. That leads into the follow-up. How do you feel about that stuff, and how would you do it if that's the case?
When we had the website for Firemind Production, that homepage had a great promo, had a good video of the show. It instantly grabbed your attention, told you who we were, what we were. And then the next thing that you would go to was, it wasn't services. I'm trying to remember, because that's a big one. The next thing it went to was, booking, availability. You know what I mean? Right there. Because you're going to, hey, this guy looks really good. Oh, booking. And then you could put your media package in there and your media kit. You had to have a branding kit at the time, but you don't really have to have that media kit that you used to.
I'll tell you a secret. You never needed it, but that's okay.
Well, what I would do is if I was going to a bar or a venue like that, I would drive up, and I had a flash drive, because they all had a big screen TV, and it was all USB, so that they could plug that. There were posters. I had, gosh darn it, brochures you could put on the table, little cards, tell them that I was coming, so that people could see it. If there was a radio station up there, I would call and do a radio interview, get that done. If the area had like a message board or something, like here in Michigan or in Houghton Lake, we have one for events going on, a big marquee. I got it there. So I made sure people knew what I was doing. But like you said, I'm not sure if you need that media package, because you can kind of do that now.
Well,
online.
So I work a lot of small towns, and I found that just simply sending a press release to the newspaper, about 90% of the time, it gets printed without any changes. The guy will just put it in the newspaper. Same with radio interviews. You just send an email to the radio and they'll have you on quite often.
Free
of charge. They got to fill time. That's the truth.
They do. And sometimes I would call them, and just say, hey, this is Dan, and I'm with Firemind Productions. I'm going to be doing a stage show up there, and and they would go, oh yeah, let's have you on. So press release or a phone call would get, most of the time would get me on the radio. And we did the same thing for the production company too. If I was booking somebody somewhere, we would be calling the radio stations, and there was a few times that we actually had the artists go to the radio station and do the interview in the radio station. Yeah. And that worked out really well. And one of the other things I will mention about your website is colors. We're going to be talking about colors because those are important. You know what I mean? That initial look. I hate to say that websites should have some sort of aesthetic effect upon the individual. I just turned into the narrator from the Goofy cartoons there. That was wrong. So, how to be an amazing stage hypnotist.
So, I'm going to agree with you on that, but I also want to differentiate a thought process there. Sometimes, if you look too good, clients will not contact you. That may sound counterproductive.
There's
but
balance.
It's the truth.
Yeah. There's a balance.
Yes.
If you get into that elegant color platelet, you start to look like, oh, he's very
expensive.
He's expensive, or they're in a whole other area. When I'm using my therapy on my therapy page, I do have a little bit of the elegant color platelet because I want them to feel, and invoke that. But on the conference page, it's really bright and fun.
Yep. So it's white and inviting, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
People don't talk about that a lot in the entertainment industry specifically, but the colors matter. It used to be that purples and golds, that was royalty, which is partially why Jason Linett uses them. He is viewed as the luxury, right? Jason's going to tell me I'm an idiot. But
no. You know what? Jason has always had the purple. I've known him in passing. I don't know him well. I know him well enough to say hello to him at HypnoThoughts or if he's somewhere. But yeah, he's always had that.
I haven't told him this, but when he was first learning stage hypnosis way back in 2006, I was on the same forum as him, and I was designing my logo at the same time he was. And I will have you know that I was at least 3 weeks ahead of him on the purple. Just so everybody knows, at least. That was way back in 2006. But I don't care. Obviously, he's done something way better with it than I ever did. Dan, this conference, it's probably the most important conference that stage hypnotists have these days.
Absolutely.
So I want to wholeheartedly endorse it, but I want your reasons for attending. What is the reason that you find this thing so valuable?
I find it valuable because it is for stage hypnosis only, period. This is for the stage. I present all over the world at hypnosis conferences, and generally they are for therapeutic hypnosis. They will have some stage elements to them. Having had the opportunity to work, and you can't see, but I'm like doing this with my hands all of a sudden. I don't know what that is. Having had the opportunity to work in stage hypnosis, it's hard. It's not as easy as everyone seems to think it is, just because, there's a couple things like, hey, can you set up in the dark? Or can you do this? Or there's the guy that comes to your show simply to try and ruin it. So you have all these difficulties, and it becomes a thing where you have to really be aware of that. And so stage hypnosis is near and dear to my heart, and I want to support those guys. And having the summit, that's where you get the answers from people like Terry Stokes and Grant Saunders and Kevin Lapine and just, Tom Silver, all these guys that have been there, done it, seen it, know it. They can tell you like, yeah, don't do that because this is going to happen. That's why it's so important. And it gives the community, the stage hypnosis community, a chance to collaborate as it never has before. A lot of times, oh man, stage hypnosis. When I started, I remember there was a lot of guys going, "You're stealing my gig," you know. Yeah, I'm like, I was like, how am I? They don't even know who you are. You know what I mean? So yeah, so there was that.
Address that. Let's address that. I firmly believe there is less than 100 working hypnotists, stage hypnotists specifically, working, earning their living worldwide. I would almost guarantee it. And you can say we have 3,500 people in the performing hypnosis group, but people that are actually making money. There is no fucking competition, people. You need to understand it. There is no such thing. Because I live in a town of 2,500 people, and we have about 110 businesses here. Guess who's marketing to those businesses? Nobody else.
Yeah.
And nobody else is doing it where you are either.
No.
That wasn't for you, Dan. That was specifically towards.
Yeah, but they work, man. I'm all alone up here, man. There's no other hypnosis guy here. You were right. I'm doing it.
Well, that's wrong. You're wrong. There's Michael Brody. He's in your area, I believe. He's in Detroit area, and that's Michigan. There's Dennis Ridgway. There's Tina. William Mitchell's out there somewhere? Is he not? So there's Richard Cole's not even far from you.
Yeah, I'm in my hometown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
small city.
But we think there's all this competition. The big secret, if you live in a place where there's a city with like 300,000 people, you could probably make a living in that city by itself if you market in that city. That's the sad truth. It's that people think they got to go far and wide to do stuff. They don't if they have a decent population base.
Yeah, and I was making money, but it wasn't my primary income because at the time I was still working as a full-time firefighter.
Yep.
And as was Michael Bentley, because that's where I met him. And he had done a lot. He had worked for this company. It was a really big DJ company, and we just got to talking, and he's like, "Hey, I can front your show." And I'm like, "Oh, that would be great. Yeah, if you could front the show, that would be amazing." And for those of you who don't know, front the show means he's going to run the sound and all this other good stuff. And I will give you a little bit of a clue. This goes back. Here's one of the things that you'll learn at the summit that I wish I would have known. I call them gaffes because I'm from the theater. It's a gaff. Your next gig, your next joke, your next skit. Whatever. I'm going from a gaff to gaff. I had a head mic because I found I needed my hands. So I bought a really nice Shure head mic. I would be rehearsing my next gaff under my breath on stage. So Mike would have to mute me those first few shows. But you would learn that at the summit, like, don't rehearse your gaff on stage under your breath. So, yeah, you're laughing. It's okay.
So before we end off, we're at 35 minutes. I don't want to keep you for too bloody long. I said I wouldn't, but I'm going to promote. We'll start off Performing Hypnosis Summit. If you're not already attending, there's a link down below somewhere in the description. Go attend that thing, either online or in person. And it's a blast. I was very against it to start with because I'm an introvert and I don't like dealing with people, but it's time for our community to come together. And I think that was a problem before in our community as well. A lot of us are introverts, whether we perform on stage or not. The next thing is, Dan, you've got a whole whack of stuff. And I know you don't want to promote it, but I know you've got Michigan Hypnosis Conference. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
We started that in 2021 to bring the people of Michigan together. And I started the Hypno Cafe podcast just for fun. It was just like, I'm going to do like one video a month. That's what I'll do. Well, my business partner, Heather, doesn't let me do anything for fun. So that's out. Really grew from that. And that created the Hypno Cafe magazine, which has become HypnoWorld Magazine, because we travel, I travel all over the place. And that's another thing, you guys, when you come to the summit, you're going to see the Hypno Cafe podcast setup that you will not be able to miss it. I promise you. If you walk in and you don't see our podcast setup, go to the eye doctor. So yeah, we're going to be there talking with people just about what they've got going on at the summit. So, Jesse Lewis will be there. He's going to be there. That's the only reason to go.
Well, there's other reasons.
There is.
So I'm talking about marketing and basic show promotion, which we covered quite a bit of it here. And it's amazing how much overlap there is between our mindsets about the social stuff, because I don't do the social stuff. You had one other thing. You're not doing Firemind anymore, so I won't put any links up for that.
We are actually. Firemind has changed because I work with Mike Bentley, he now runs Redline Media Co.
Okay.
And one of the things that I will be ending something. Spoiler alert, as I look at my microphone and not at my camera. Spoiler alert. So we started filming The Traveling Hypnotist at the Performing Hypnosis Summit last year. We were going to end the filming of The Traveling Hypnotist. And this is just me on my phone gimbal sharing you my trials and tribulations as I travel. And because somebody asked me like, oh, dude, you get to travel all over the world. It's so glamorous. I'm like, really? Okay, let me show you the glamour. All right. Yeah.
Flea-bitten hotels in the middle of fucking. Sorry, everybody for swearing.
It doesn't count unless you cuss, as my grandfather used to say. But yeah, so we're going to finish filming that where we started at the Performing Hypnosis Summit. Then I'm going to come back here, start editing, and that is going to be premiering sometime on my Amazon Prime Video movie channel. So the Firemind production is now kind of morphing towards that. It's responsible for that. So still doing stuff with it.
Just That's fantastic. Before we close out, is there any messages that you want to send out to people that either are attending an event or thinking about attending the event, or anything you want to promote specifically before we end up?
Yeah, if you are thinking about, if you're on the fence of attending the Performing Hypnosis Summit, do so, because this is the perfect time of year to do it. People are like, oh, it's Vegas in January. It's like 66 degrees. That is the perfect time to go. You're going to get the best airfare. You're going to get the best show prices. You're going to get all this good stuff. So go to the summit. That's all I want to promote right now is go to the summit because I'm going to be there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a mug for me. That's right. Apparently I want a mug.
Dude, hold on. I had it right
Unless you shipped it. Unless you shipped it already.
You know what? I can't ship to Canada yet.
Really?
Really?
The post office is that screwed. Huh.
Well, they said because there's a backlog of the Canadian Post trying to catch up, the U.S. isn't sending anything that way yet. So I am watching that to see,
Bring it to Vegas.
Oh, I'm bringing it to Vegas.
Your carry-on.
You're going to like it.
Other than that, Dan, I want to thank you for being on. This has been the Six Figure Entertainer podcast. I'm hoping to turn this into a weekly format after Performing Hypnosis Summit. Dan, I'd love to have you back on sometime. Other than that, I'm going to end the stream, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you want to be on the Six Figure Entertainer podcast as well, there's a link down below in the description. And as long as you're an entertainer, I'll have you on whether you're in six figures or not. Let's do this. See you next time, everybody.